Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Rangana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Rangana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitya Gora Haribo, 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 Nitya Gora Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are going to be reading from the 9th canto. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is a very beautiful book. It's one of our key scriptures, which is said is the Amala Purana. It's the spotless out of all the different scriptures in the Vedic tradition. This one is considered to be the most pure, the most perfect, the essence of all the Vedic literatures. And what we have here is just one volume. It's Canto 9 out of 12 cantos. And the whole Bhagavatam, or at least most of it, is in that case over there. It looks like many, many books, but it's actually one book divided into many volumes. So 18 volumes altogether. So this is like a lifetime of transcendental reading and knowledge that's accessible to us by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So we're going to get a little bite-sized sample here today. We're going to be reading from Canto 9, Chapter 5. This chapter is called Durvasa Muni's Life Spared. So we're coming to the end of a story here, of a historical narration. And we're going to be reading from text 22 until the end of the chapter. So before we get into that, I'll just give a little bit of context. So long, long ago, many thousands of years ago, there was a famous king named Ambarish, and he was a devotee. He was a great devotee, and he ruled the kingdom according to religious principles, according to devotional principles, and basically he delegated practically all of his administrative tasks so that he could just absorb himself in serving Krishna. And he's famous for engaging all of his senses in the service of the Lord. His eyes in seeing the beautiful deities, his voice in chanting the glories of the Lord, the holy names of the Lord, doing kirtan, his nose in smelling the flowers offered to the deity, his ears in listening to the recitations of Bhagavatam, and basically like all of the things that Srila Prabhupada taught us to do as the main processes of bhakti, he was engaging himself in doing all the time. And the kingdom was going on by the mercy of Krishna and some assistants, but he was above and beyond anything else. He was a devotee. That was his identity, and that's how he saw himself, as first and foremost a servant of the Lord. And then, one year, Ambarish Maharaj, along with his wife, they decided to do what we call a vrat, or a vow of fasting, doing like an Ekadasi fast, no grains, no beans, a simplified diet for one whole year. So they did that, one whole year, which is a long time, to observe like a strict diet like that. And now it was coming to the end of the year, and it was just the time for breaking the fast there was like a window, there's like a narrow window of time, maybe like a few hours where you have to break your fast during that time. Otherwise, they say you lose the benefit of your whole fast. So he's like, I have to break my fast during this time. But then within that time, they had already prepared the meal, they were just about to sit down to eat, and then a guest came, an unexpected guest came, and that guest, his name was Durvasa. So Durvasa Muni, he was a great sage, he was an ascetic, he was a yogi, and he had a lot of mystic powers. He was also a Brahmin. So according to the Vedic system, the Brahmin, the priests or teachers, are in a higher social status than the king. The king is an administrator, but the teachers or the priests are higher than the administrators. So Ambarish naturally respected Durvasa when he showed up, and he was like, oh, I'm so blessed, a great soul has come to my door, and please sit down, and I'd like to offer you food, which was the custom. Sitting place, water, sweet words, food. So he wanted to receive him according to the etiquette with all respect. But then Durvasa Muni said, oh well, I'll be right back. I'm going to go down to the river, I'm going to bathe, I'm going to chant my Gayatri, I'm going to do my midday rituals, and then I'll come back and eat. So then it was taking a long time for Durvasa Muni to come back, and the time to break the fast was coming to the end. He was in the last moment of, I need to break this fast, otherwise it's all going to be lost. And then he consulted some Brahminical advisors, and they said, you know what, you can break the fast and not, because the thing is, like, he was considering that it would be an offense to eat before the guest, especially since he considered the guest to be superior to him. So he thought, I've invited him to eat, I can't just take my meal and then feed him later, that's not what you do. So he's thinking, I need to break the fast, but also I can't eat, so what am I supposed to do? So they said, no problem, just drink a little water. So he took one drop of water, and he's like, okay, complete. And so then, moments after Ambarish took the water and the time for breaking fast finished, then Durvasa Muni came back. But see, Durvasa Muni, he was a very powerful yogi, and he had a lot of mystic powers. And one of his powers was that he could kind of understand what happened. So he could understand that Ambarish had already taken something, and then he was very angry. He said, how is this? How dare you? Don't you know your position in relation to me? You are inferior to me, and yet you've eaten first. What kind of an example is this? You are a king. You're supposed to set the good example for all humanity, and you've just disgraced you've insulted me. This is unheard of. And he became so angry that another one of Durvasa's mystic powers was that he could just create creatures. So he pulled a hair out of his head, and he recited a mantra, and he threw that hair down on the ground, and this huge demon just came up, this like monstrous creature came out of the ground, and he was going with the intention of killing Ambarish Maharaj. So this was like, of course, a very imbalanced reaction to the offense, right? If there was any offense in Ambarish's taking a little drop of water to break his fast, it was very, very minor. And yet Durvasa overreacted due to, Durvasa's known for his ego being a little delicate, so he gets incensed very easily. So this happened. And then Ambarish was just standing there, okay, this demon is coming to kill me. Krishna is the supreme controller. Krishna, he was a devotee of Krishna, so he just does what devotees do, just depended on Krishna, just took full shelter of Krishna. All right, Krishna, you're in control. My life is dependent on you, and I totally trust that whatever happens is going to be the best for me because you're taking care of me. So if this is how you want me to die, then let it be. And if you want to protect me, then go ahead. You're totally free and independent to do whatever you want to do, and in all positions, in life or in death, in happiness or distress, I am your servant. So that was Ambarish's attitude. And so he just stood there and he was just like, not worried, not anxious, not running for his life, nothing. Just standing there. And so, true to form, Krishna, as he says in the Bhagavad Gita, always protects his devotees. And so Krishna, he had actually stationed his weapon, his personal weapon is a Sudarshan chakra. So it's like a disc that has, it's very powerful. It's more powerful than many, many atomic bombs put together because it's not a material weapon, it's a spiritual, transcendental weapon. So that disc just started flying out towards Durvasa and chasing him and scorching him. So Durvasa was like, oh no. Then he, very different picture from what Ambarish's response was to, having his life threatened. Durvasa started yelling and running, and he just took off. And Durvasa also had his mystic powers that he could travel through space. He could go from one planet to another. So he's going from one planet, one demigod to another, asking, please save me, please save me. And everyone's like, I can't save you. This is Krishna's weapon. Krishna's God. We can't counteract his will. And so no one was able to help Durvasa. And finally he went all the way to Vaikuntha, the abode of the Lord. And even the Lord said, okay, this is my weapon, but the reason that the weapon is attacking you is because you've actually offended, you've mistreated my devotee. And so it's not going to leave you alone until you go and apologize and make it good. So then Durvasa's like, oh, shoot. Then he had to go all the way back down to earth and go back to Ambarish's house and be like, really sorry. I overreacted. I couldn't control my anger. But of course Ambarish, he was just standing there like, no, it's okay. It's all good. It's all my fault. I ate. Don't worry about it. You're my superior and you can act any way you like. And my position is to, facilitate. So don't worry. So Ambarish, in all situations, he just took the very humble position, very peaceful and calm, respectful in all circumstances. So then that kind of brings us to, in the last class, yesterday's class, Ambarish was glorifying the Sudarshan chakra, the Lord's weapon, and Durvasa Muni was expressing his appreciation of Ambarish. He was thinking, wow, I was thinking I was more powerful than you, but I'm really amazed with your qualities. That, I was afraid, I was anxious, but you didn't become anxious. How is that even possible? And so what's happening here is that Durvasa Muni is having some realizations. He's realizing that the position of a devotee is higher than a Brahmin, it's higher than a yogi, it's higher than an ascetic, it's higher than a mystic. He's basically realizing what Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita 6:47, that yoginam api sarvesham madkritena atmana shadavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. That of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, who thinks of me within himself, renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and he's the highest of all. That is my opinion, Krishna says. So Durvasa's learning something, and that's what life is for. That's why we go through these experiences. That's why we, have to make mistakes and get consequences for those mistakes, is so we can learn lessons. So Durvasa Muni, he's a good person. He's trying to be spiritual. He's doing his best, but he has some room for improvement. And so Krishna arranged this whole interaction so that he could be free from his, pride or his ego or his false conception of his own position in relation to the devotees of the Lord. So let's go ahead and read text 22 to 28, and then we'll take it from there. So whoever has the mic. Hopefully someone has. All right, go ahead, Krishna.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, thus being satisfied in all respects, the great mystic yogi Durvasa took permission and then continuously glorified the king. Through the skyways he went to Brahmaloka, which is devoid of agnostics and dry philosophical speculators.
Okay, so this is interesting. So this is after they resolved everything, they apologized. Actually, an interesting thing that I forgot is that the whole time that Durvasa was being chased by the Sudarshan Chakra all over the universe, a lot of time was passing. A whole year passed before he came back and actually apologized. And during that year, Ambarish didn't eat because he kept thinking, I invited Durvasa to come and take prasadam with me, and he still hasn't eaten, so I can't eat before him. Like his whole thing is that I can't eat before him. So he's still waiting. So now it's 2 years, and the first year was like an Ekadasi fast, and then the second year was like only water fast, because he only took water, right? So this is like crazy. And all out of respect for the person who overreacted, who got angry, who tried to kill him. He continues respecting this person. This is the characteristic of Ambarish, that no matter how, he's a respectable person, no matter what he does, that's his issue, but I'm not going to, degrade myself. I'm going to maintain my saintly qualities. So then only when Durvasa came back and Ambarish actually was able to offer him the meal, and finally Durvasa sat down and ate and was finished eating, only then did Ambarish finally have a proper meal. And then Durvasa left. So then when he left, it says here that he took permission, he left, and he left glorifying Ambarish. And he was traveling through the skyways. He was traveling from planet to planet in the universe, all the way up to the highest planet, which is called Brahmaloka, the planet where Lord Brahma lives. And everywhere he went, he was just saying, you know what just happened? You're not going to believe this. I met this king named Ambarish, and his qualities were so exceptional. I was thinking that he was a lowly king and I was a worshipable Brahmin, but I realized the greatness of bhakti, the greatness of devotees of the Lord, their qualities, their intimate relationship with the Lord, how the Lord protects them in all circumstances. He wouldn't even protect me. I went to his personal planet and he was like, sorry, you got to go ask forgiveness from him. But he protects his devotees in all circumstances. So he was teaching, just like, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we're like, wow, Krishna consciousness is so amazing, devotional service is the best, this is such an ecstatic, blissful process, it's so purifying, it's so transformative, I'm feeling so happy now that I'm chanting Hare Krishna and doing service. Then we want to share it with others, so we might go, I remember when I first became a devotee, I was thinking I'm going to go back home and I'm going to tell my family all about this and they're all going to become devotees, and I'm going to go to my school and I'm going to tell all the students there. So that's kind of what Durvasa Muni was doing. He had some realizations of the glories of devotional service, and he wants to tell everyone about it. And it's mentioned by the acharyas that he had some friends on Brahmaloka who were impersonalists, right? They realized that, that they're souls, that there's an all-pervasive spiritual energy, but they didn't realize that the highest spiritual path is to have a personal, loving relationship with God, to be a devotee of Krishna. And so he's telling them this. He's like, you guys think you know what spiritual life is? Listen to this. I'm going to tell you about the highest thing that I've ever seen in my whole spiritual journey, and that is a devotional service, exemplified by this devotee king, Ambarish. So he's basically preaching. That's what Prabhupada says here in the purport. Durvasa Muni's purpose in going to Brahmaloka was apparently to speak to the residents of Brahmaloka about how powerful a devotee is, and how a devotee can surpass every living entity within this material world. The so-called jnanis and yogis cannot compare to a devotee. Okay, let's go to the next verse, 23, please.
Durvasa Muni had left the place of Maharaj Ambarish, and as long as he had not returned for 1 complete year, the king had fasted, maintaining himself simply by drinking water.
Yeah, so Durvasa has already left, and the person who's narrating this historical event is Shukadev Goswami. And so Shukadev Goswami, he's like, okay, now it's all over, Durvasa Muni's gone. But this is just incredible. So Shukadev Goswami is expressing his astonishment. And Shukadev is a devotee, And even he's amazed by the qualities of Ambarish. He's like, I just can't believe this. That king, he fasted, drinking only water for a whole year, just waiting for this offender to come back and eat. So, yeah. Okay, text 24.
Text 24. After 1 year, when Durvasa Muni had returned, King Ambarish sumptuously fed him all varieties of pure food. Then he himself also ate. When the king saw that the Brahmana Durvasa had been released from the great danger of being burned, he could understand that by the grace of the Lord, he himself was also powerful. But he did not take any credit, for everything had been done by the Lord.
Thank you. Yeah, so the Acharyas explained that when Durvasa came back and Ambarish was serving him, he was serving him very happy, and he was feeling like, I'm so fortunate to be able to serve a Brahmin, to be able to feed a Brahmin. This is like, I'm so happy. Yeah, so that was his mood. He wasn't resentful. He wasn't like, oh, this guy offended me and now I have to feed him. He was like, I'm so blessed that this great soul has come to my house and I'm able to serve him. I'm able to feed the Brahmins. This is like the perfection of my life. And I'm so happy that he's gotten free from his distress. That was, a really terrible thing that happened to him. And the Lord is so merciful. But it's mentioned here that he realized that he was powerful. Right? So sometimes, devotees, it's like, we can be in a dangerous position, and then we actually feel the protection of the Lord. We feel the mercy of the Lord, and we think, wow, by myself, I'm not very strong, but I can feel how the Lord is supporting me. He's there for me. He's standing up for me. And so there's, you feel like you have some power behind you. You're capable of doing things. You feel invincible, like that. So another quality that we see here with Ambarish, which is consistent with devotees, we see it also in the first canto with Parikshit Maharaj, because he was also cursed. And he was cursed to die. And that curse, he could have revoked the curse. Like, he was powerful enough to be able to counteract the curse just by his own desire to do so. But he didn't. He accepted the curse and he actually died from that curse. So in that context, there's a nice verse, which is Srimad Bhagavatam 1:18-48, and it says, Tira skrita vipralabdha shapta kshipta hata api. So tira skrita means being defamed, vipralabdha means being cheated, shapta means being cursed, kshipta means being neglected, and hata means being killed. So any of these things might happen to you, right? You might be defamed, cheated, cursed, neglected, or even killed. But it says that a devotee, nasya tat pratikurvanti, never counteracts any of these things. Tat bhakta prabhavopihi, although the devotee has the power to do so. Why? Because the devotee just accepts that Krishna is in control. So if I've been cursed, well, that happened. That was sanctioned by Krishna. If I've been defamed, I guess I had that coming. If I've been neglected, then there's something that I need to learn. It's for my purification, or there's some lesson in here for me, and I need to just accept this and learn what I need to learn and accept the Lord's plan, like that. And then there's another verse that comes 3 verses later, text 51 of the 18th chapter. Prayasha sadhavo loke parar dvandveshu yojita. So that means that generally sadhus in this world, that others try to engage them in duality. So the nature of a sadhu is above duality. Like happiness, distress, fame, infamy, victory, defeat. They're not affected by any of those things because they're just steady in their devotion to the Lord. And because they see everything as the Lord's mercy, they don't see something as good or bad. It's all just the Lord's mercy, and it's all good. It says that others, parar dvandveshu yojita, others try to engage them in duality. Right? So sometimes that happens that, somebody will mistreat you, say something, and you'll be just like, okay, Krishna, this is, from my previous karma, I have something to learn, or you're just very kindly orchestrating this circumstance for me to let go of my material attachments, become humble, it's all good. But other people come along and say, are you just going to sit there and take that? You need to stand up for your rights. This was wrong, you need to establish the right thing and not allow this kind of, abuse or mistreatment or something to yourself. So others try to engage the person in duality, although that's not their nature. But then it says, na vyatani na hrisyanti. But the sadhu doesn't succumb to that influence. And the sadhu doesn't become distressed. Why? Because hrisyanti yata atma aguna ashraya. Because they're taking so much pleasure in the shelter of the Lord. And we see that very much in the story of Prahlad Maharaj. Like anyone who watched that Maha Avatar Nrsimha movie, you can see very clearly how Prahlad was getting persecuted left, right, and center by his father. And yet there's that very sweet scene where just after, the nth attempt for his father to kill him, he's just on the beach there, and he's like in deep meditation, meditating on Lord Vishnu, and then Vishnu just comes and takes him in his lap and holds him and embraces him. And it's just such a sweet, scene. That's the scene where all the girls were crying in the movie. And right? Some of the men too, maybe. But it was so sweet, because it's showing how, even though this devotee is being persecuted and abused, and so many attempts on his life, he's just totally peaceful in the lap of the Lord. He's not just peaceful, he's ecstatic. He's in bliss. That's what this verse is saying, Hrisyanti. He's just, actually the devotee's enjoying. The devotee's transcendentally enjoying themselves, even while they're being defamed and cursed and neglected and someone's trying to kill them, being cheated. So this is the position of the devotee. But it doesn't mean that devotees never become distressed, and we're going to talk about that briefly, of the situations in which devotees sometimes do get distressed. So let's go on to... I think so. Yes, text 25.
In this way, because of devotional service, Maharaj Ambarish, who was endowed with varieties of transcendental qualities, was completely aware of Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of God. And thus he executed devotional service perfectly. Because of his devotion, he thought even the topmost planet of this material world no better than the hellish planet.
Mm-hmm. So this is showing again how bhakti is the best path. That by bhakti you can realize all three features of God. Brahman, which means his all-pervasive spiritual energy, and Paramatma means the Lord in the heart, and then Bhagavan means the Supreme Person. And the devotee has a personal relationship with the Lord, and also appreciates how the Lord is in everyone's heart. The Lord is simultaneously all-pervading. So this, and then because the devotee has that understanding and that vision, then it doesn't matter. Like in any situation, they're going to be happy, right? It says that he thought that even the topmost planet in the material world was no better than hell. So people who have a less broad vision or less broad understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they think that, heaven is a place where I want to go, and hell is a place that I want to stay away from. But the devotee doesn't think like that. Devotee thinks that I just want to serve Krishna. And if I go to heaven and I don't have any service for Krishna, that's like hell for me. Even though the environment is wonderful, it's beautiful, everything's comfortable. But if there's no devotional service for me, it's a no-go. It's not a nice situation. And if they're in hell, but there's some service to be done, that they can do Harinam, they can do Kirtan there in hell, and, make the people who are suffering there start dancing in ecstasy, then hell becomes like heaven. And so the point is that the devotee just wants to do service in any situation, and the happiness doesn't come from the situation, it comes from the service. So that way they can be happy in any situation. Okay, text 26.
Srila Shukadev Goswami continued, Thereafter, because of his advanced position in devotional life, Maharaj Ambrish, who no longer desired to live with material things, retired from active family life. He divided his property among his sons who were equally qualified, and he himself took the order of Vanaprastha and went to the forest to concentrate his mind fully upon Lord Vasudeva.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Ambarish Maharaj, he took Vanaprastha. He left his home, he went to the forest. That was, according to Vedic custom, what you do in your ripe old age as you become renounced. And so the interesting point here is that Ambarish, even while he was at home with his family and ruling the kingdom, he wasn't doing any material activities. He was just fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. So it says here that he left home and went to the forest so that he could concentrate his mind fully upon Lord Vasudeva. But we were hearing how his mind was already fully on Lord Vasudeva. Vasudeva is another name for Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he quotes this verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasagira nikilasya yavastastu jiva mukta sa ujyate. Which means that someone who's engaging all of their activities, their mind, their words, and everything in the service of the Lord, they're already liberated. And even in this world, even in this life, even in this material body, they're a liberated soul. And then because Ambarish was doing all of those things, then he was already liberated. So if he's already liberated, why did he need to leave home and go to the forest? Usually people need to leave home because the home life is entangling, right? They get entangled in just trying to earn money and pay the bills and repair the house and take care of this and that, solving problems. And then because he's a king, he's got to deal with all the different issues and problems in the kingdom and maintenance and taking care of the people and punishing criminals. But Ambarish was not doing any of those things, or if he was doing some of those things, he was doing them in connection with the Lord as a part of his devotional service. And so there wasn't one iota, one bit of Ambarish's life that wasn't devotional service. So he was already liberated. So then in that case, why did he need to leave home? We're going to hear about in the purport to text 27. So text 27 is our focus verse, and we'll do the Sanskrit for this one. So let's get that up there. Ityetat punyamakyanam ambarishasya bhupate sankirtayan anudyayan bhakto bhagavato bhavet ityetat punyamakyanam ambarishasya bhupate sankirtayan anudyayan bhakto bhagavato bhavet. Please chant. Ityetat punyamakyanam ambarishasya bhupate sankirtayan anudyayan bhakto bhagavato bhavet ityetat punyamakyanam ambarishasya bhupate sankirtayan anudyayan bhakto bhagavato bhavet ityetat punyamakyanam ambarishasya bhupate sankirtayan anudyayan bhakto bhagavato bhavet ityetat punyamakyanam Ambarishasya Bhupate Sankirtayan Anudhyayan Bhakto Bhagavato Bhagavato. Let's do the word for word all together. Iti, thus. Etat, this. Punyam Akyanam, most pious activity in history. Ambarishasya, of Maharaj Ambarish. Bhupate, O king, Maharaj Parikshit. Sankirtayan, by chanting, repeating. Anudhyayan, or by meditating upon. Bhakta, a devotee. Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhavat, one can become. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anyone who chants this narration or even thinks of this narration about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. Alright, well, it's too late. You've already drunk the Kool-Aid here. Everybody just heard the narration, so you're going to become a pure devotee of the Lord. Certainly. Alright. So this is, I guess I'll just go ahead and read the last, 28 is the last verse. By the grace of the Lord, those who hear about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish, the great devotee, certainly become liberated and become devotees without delay. So not only that, but very soon. So this is Shukadeva Goswami's blessing for hearing this pastime. And I'll read the purport. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada answers a question that we raised in the previous verse, that if Maharaj Ambarish was already liberated, then why did he need to leave home? Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur herein gives a very good example. When one is very eager for more and more money, he is not satisfied when he is a millionaire or a multimillionaire, but he wants to earn more and more money by any means. The same mentality is present in a devotee. The devotee is never satisfied, thinking, this is the limit of my devotional service. The more he engages in the service of the Lord, the more he wants to give. This is the position of a devotee. Maharaj Ambarish in his family life was certainly a pure devotee, complete in every respect, because his mind and all his senses were engaged in devotional service. Savai Mani Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanuvarnane. Maharaj Ambarish was self-satisfied because all his senses were engaged in devotional service. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. Nonetheless, although Maharaj Ambarish had engaged all his senses in devotional service, he left his home and went to the forest to concentrate his mind fully at the lotus feet of Krishna, exactly as a mercantile man, even though complete in wealth, tries to earn more and more. This mentality of getting more and more engaged in devotional service puts one in the most exalted position. Whereas on the karma platform, the mercantile man who wants more and more money becomes increasingly bound and entangled. The devotee becomes increasingly liberated. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this is one of the causes of the devotee's distress. In the 7th canto, we also learn about another reason why a pure devotee may be in distress. Does anyone know what that is? Why was Prahlad Maharaj in distress? Why was Prahlad Maharaj in distress? He was in distress about something. About the fallen souls, yeah. There's one verse that he says, I'll just sing it. Nayodvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas Twadvirya gaya namahamrita magna chitta Shoche tato vimuka chetasa indriyarta Maya sukhaya bharam udvahato vimudham. So here he's saying that in this material world, I don't fear anything. Although the world is duratyaya, he says, I'm not feeling it. Just not feeling any distress from this world. I'm not feeling any fear, no anxiety. Why? Because twadvirya gayana mahamrita magna chitta. Because I'm always engaged in hearing and chanting the great glories of the Lord. And so he's always just happy. He's doing kirtan, shravanam, kirtanam, Vishnu smaranam. He's always singing the Lord's holy names and hearing and discussing the pastimes of the Lord. And so he's absorbed in that. He doesn't feel any distress, right? That's what happens when you get absorbed in these devotional activities. Everything's good, right? You become very blissful. But then he says, Shoche tato vimukachetasa indriya. He says, I have one lamentation. Shoche means lamentation. I'm lamenting about one thing and one thing only, and that is these poor people who are vimukachetasa, who have turned their faces away from the Lord, and indriyarta maya sukhaya param udvahato vimudha. They're foolishly just carrying this heavy burden of trying to enjoy their senses, trying to find happiness in Maya Sukhaya. And so, yeah, people are trying in so many ways to be happy in this world through enjoying their senses and through, seeing beautiful things, touching, things that they want to touch, usually the bodies of the opposite sex, trying to get some pleasure out of that, eating all different kinds of food, just trying to enjoy the senses in different ways, listening to different kinds of music, whatever makes them feel good. And he says that it never works out, right? All of these things, they just, you eat too much, you end up with a stomach ache, the relationship often ends up in a breakup, or even if you stay together, it kind of fizzles out after a while. And, you want to have a family, but then it becomes such a burden, you have to work, and okay, you want money, but at what cost? You sacrifice your life basically just to earn money, like, you waste all your time and energy just at your job so you can earn money. Why? So you can have a house. Why? So you can repair things when it breaks, and so you can pay bills and have to work more. And it's just like, for a lot of us, just like seeing it as it is, and he's just like, why? I'm just, it's such a pitiful situation. He's like, I pity these poor, as the British would say, sods, the poor sods, these poor people who are carrying this heavy burden of all that it takes to try to be happy in this material world, which is just leading them to frustration and disappointment and anger and heartbreak, and in the end they're going to die and lose it all anyway. So so they're anxious about that. So that's the distress of devotees, that in Krishna consciousness, it's all good. Krishna's protecting, Krishna's providing, Krishna's maintaining, Krishna's right here. He's bestowing his blessings every day, his beautiful darshan, ecstatic kirtan. It's like good life. But then, we look out the window and see, oh, so many people are suffering, trying to find happiness and just being frustrated. So we want to help them. So that's one cause of a devotee's distress. And then another cause of a devotee's stress is indicated here, and that they never feel like they're doing enough service, right? Devotee just wants to serve Krishna, but somehow no matter how much service we do, it's never enough. And I remember many, many years ago when I was on traveling Sankirtan, I was living in the temple and going out in the van with the girls, and we were getting up early, we were waking up at 2:30 in the morning, having this intense morning program in the van, chanting all of our rounds, and then doing Bhagavatam class and Guru Puja and cooking and offering and taking prasadam, and then going out in books all day long, 6-8 hours a day, and then coming back and dealing with, counting up the collection and preparing that, and, again, cleaning the van, washing the pots, driving to the next town, and the next day we'd get up, do the morning program, and then we'd take all the money that we collected and just put it all in the temple bank account, and and we weren't even buying food. Like after Sankirtan, we finished our book distribution, we'd go door to door, and we would beg. We'd knock on the doors of people, and it'd be like, oh, we're traveling monks, can you just, we try not, we live on donations, so we try not to spend the Lord's money on our own selves, so we depend on nice people like you to provide us with our basic, necessities of life. So if you have any spare rice or flour or milk or sugar or vegetables, please bless us, whatever. And that way whatever we would get from our begging, we would put in the kitchery the next morning, or, and that would be what we would eat. So like that, we were just 100% just depending on Krishna, working hard, giving everything. You know, it was just totally selfless and intense sadhana. And I remember one time I was just, even though I was doing, it wasn't possible that I could do another thing. There wasn't like a moment in the day that I wasn't doing service and could do more service. And yet I had this feeling that I wasn't doing enough, and it was so frustrating for me that this was back in the day of payphones, so I was on Sankirtan and I was just feeling so like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I serve properly? And so I called up my spiritual master on the payphone, and I was like, Guru Maharaj, I'm really in a lot of distress right now. And he's like, what? Well, I just feel like I'm doing everything that I possibly can. I can't do another thing. And still I feel like it's not enough. I still feel like whatever I'm doing is just falling short from pleasing Krishna. And then he said, well, get used to it. He said, that's what it means to be a devotee. You always feel like as much as you're doing, it's never enough. And so, we're seeing this here, that Ambarish Maharaj is feeling the same thing, that although he's engaging every single one of his senses in the service of the Lord, and he's already liberated, he's doing pure, my devotional service wasn't pure, so that's probably why I was frustrated with myself, was because it was not pure, but Ambarish is pure, and yet he's feeling like it's not enough. I need to do something more. What more can I do? What more can I do? So then he's thinking, well, maybe if I go to the forest, then I can be more absorbed. I can be more, my chanting can be more focused. My service can be more intense. So, so this is what we're seeing here, the qualities of the devotee. That the devotee is never agitated by material circumstances, never upset, never reacts to any kind of defamation or offense. Even if the person's trying to kill them, they're just like, whatever you want, Krishna, it's all good, it's all your mercy. And they're always engaged in Krishna's service, and they're always looking for ways to be more engaged in Krishna's service. And then I was thinking, though, that there's a verse in Bhagavatam that says that Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Ardokshajay Ahaituki Apatiyata Yayatman Suprasidhati. Says that the supreme occupation for all humanity is devotional service to the Lord, is bhakti yoga. And when we perform devotional service to the Lord when our devotional service is unmotivated, if there's no material motivations, and uninterrupted, like is constant, then it completely satisfies the self. And yet Ambarish, he was performing unmotivated, uninterrupted service, and he wasn't satisfied. He wanted more service. So the satisfaction that verse, the Savai Pumsam verse from Bhagavatam 126 is talking about, is that we become materially satisfied. Right? We have no more material hankering. We're not thinking, oh, I need more money, or oh, I need to be appreciated, or I need a position, or I want to get married, or I need another child, or I need a better house, or the latest phone. Like we don't, in that sense we're satisfied. Devotees become like, I don't need anything. Like literally, I don't need anything materially. Whatever comes, and it's all good. You know? But the devotee is never satisfied with the service. They always want to do more and more service. So there's that the devotee is not greedy. There's the word lobha in Sanskrit, means greed. So lust, anger, and greed, Krishna says, are the three gates to hell. But a devotee that's greed for material things. So a devotee doesn't have any greed or desire for material things, but a devotee has greed for service. He wants more and more service. Just Prabhupada's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is using this example that a millionaire or even a multimillionaire is always just thinking, how can I get more money? So devotee, that's greed, right? Greed is never enough. So the devotee also has greed, and Rupa Goswami says that greed for more and more service is actually the ticket to go back to the spiritual world. He says when we have lolyam, when we have intense greed to serve Krishna, to please Krishna, not for our happiness or our advantage, but to be in the spiritual world so that we can do better service. Because then we don't have to deal with this material body, right? Because material body has to eat, has to sleep, has to go to the restroom, Sometimes you have to stop your service so that you can take care of your body. But if you have a spiritual form in the spiritual world, you don't need to sleep unless you are going to do that in the service of Krishna, right? Unless you want to, unless somehow that's like facilitating your loving relationship with Krishna. You don't have to eat unless, but if Krishna's having a picnic, then hey, if Krishna wants to sit down and eat with his friends, then you'll sit down and eat with Krishna for his pleasure. So, like that, the devotee is just thinking always better service. How can I serve better? How can I serve more? And what is the best position for that? And so Ambarish thought, well, let me see if I can do better service in the forest. So that's why he went. So hearing all these wonderful qualities of devotees is very purifying, and it inspires us. And that's why Shukadeva Goswami is saying that when we hear this narration, we're going to become a devotee, because we realize that the devotee is the highest thing. Just like Krishna says, out of all the yogis, the devotee is the best. So we should want to be the best thing. We should want to walk the highest road, and that's the path of bhakti. So I'll wrap it up here. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna. My question is, I'm curious because Ambarish Maharaj goes to the forest. Arjuna says, I want to go to the forest. Krishna says no. Srila Prabhupada is that the Radha Damodar can do, he can chant, right? But he comes across the ocean to come and spread the Sankirtan movement.
Yeah.
So we have stories like Ambarish Maharaj that you can see where devotees would think, oh, I should go to the forest. But it doesn't. So I'm curious, when should a devotee go to the forest? When should they fight? And when should they go on a Sankirtan mission?
Right. Yeah. Good question. So, the answer is whatever, we have to accept whatever is favorable for our devotional service and reject whatever is unfavorable for our service. So that's two of the principles of surrender. Right? Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjita. That we accept what's favorable, reject what's unfavorable. So for Arjuna, his service was to fight. Krishna was standing right there in front of him and saying, I want you to fight. You will please me the most by fighting. So if Arjuna would not fight and go to the forest in the name of, pacifism, then he would be shirking his service. So then Arjuna didn't go to the forest because that would have been he would have been going a notch down in his service. Even if he did go to the forest and chant Hare Krishna, that's not what Krishna wanted him to do right then. He wanted him to fight. So the best service, he did what was the best service, which was not going to the forest and staying and fighting. And then Srila Prabhupada, he was in the forest of Vrindavan, right? Vrindavan. And he was very peaceful there, very Krishna conscious there, totally absorbed, worshipping the deities, chanting, writing, studying, meditating, praying. And he left that forest and he came to New York City, right, for preaching. So why didn't he had already left home and gone to the forest, why didn't he stay in that forest? Why did he come? Because he was trying to do always better service. And he had gotten the instruction from his spiritual master to spread Krishna consciousness in the English language among English-speaking people. So he thought, I have to go to an English-speaking country. And then he got a ticket to the US, right? So then he came. So that was his service. It's similar to Krishna, that if Krishna is standing in front of you telling you what to do, then and he's telling you, don't go to the forest, go do something else, then you got to do something else, right? Because so you could say, well, Krishna wasn't standing in front of Srila Prabhupada, but the representative of Krishna is the Guru, his spiritual master. And so spiritual master had given it that order.
What about Ambarish Maharaj? It doesn't seem like we hear about his spiritual master or Krishna telling him. So how do we understand that he knew how to go to the forest?
Yeah, so Ambarish was already a liberated soul. And so, we don't hear that he had a guru. It may be that I'm sure he consulted, because even to break his fast, he consulted the brahmanas.
Yes.
Right? He had advisors. So I'm pretty sure before he went it wasn't just a whimsical, impulsive decision. it's not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, but I think we can safely assume that he consulted, his advisors about this. And also, when someone's on that level, the Lord directs them from within, right? Prabhupada writes that in one purport, that when a devotee is on the liberated platform, on the platform of pure devotional service, their path is self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord. So they can understand what the Lord wants them to do. And then he had that inspiration from within. And Prabhupada says that the Lord inspires us from within, and then we get that confirmed from outside, right? So if we're on a high level, in the beginning of devotional service, we don't know what to do at all. We're totally just, in illusion about who we are and the purpose of life, and our mind and senses are going crazy. And so we don't want to listen to our minds too much. We want to follow instructions of guru and mentors and scripture. When we get to a high level of spiritual advancement, then we can start to take, when our mind calms down, the mind becomes friend, mind is actually helping us be more Krishna conscious, then we can, start to hear that inner calling and understand that that's actually the Lord pushing us in a certain direction. But we still should always bounce that idea off our senior mentors and gurus, right? And get it confirmed. Like, I'm feeling like I really need to do this. I feel like Krishna is calling me to do this. I feel like I need to move to this next stage of my life, or whatever, take up this project. And then we just ask, what do you think? And then if all of our gurus and mentors are like, you know what, that is definitely, your calling. Like, this is a great thing to do. This is really what you need to do right now. I can see how this is going to help you. It's going to help others and be the best thing for everyone. Go ahead. So that's what we do.
This is such a good point to understand who Maharaj Ambrish is. When he's asking the Brahmins about the fast, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, actually the Brahmins didn't know what to do. And Maharaj Ambrish comes up with the idea. He goes, I should do this.
Yeah.
Don't you guys think? And they go, yes.
Yes, sir.
And Srila Prabhupada says in the first, this is a Vaishnava, even knows how best to serve the Lord, even over the Brahmins. So,
yeah.
Good point to understand.
But even though he knows better, he still asks.
Still ask, yeah.
Right? So that's the Vaishnava's humility.
Did you answer?
No, it was for Mother Kunti.
Your question answers my question.
Oh.
Okay, anything else? Thank you.
It was a wonderful class.
Thank you very much, Arjuna. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we'll just wrap it up then. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari.